Part 81. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 801. Chapter 801. I have liked you for many, many years. Before she did anything, she had anticipated the worst consequences. She was sure that even if Moyesi knew the truth, he would not really do anything to her. They have been in love for more than 20 years. There is also the friendship between the Shen family and the Mo family. No matter what, the consequences will not be serious. At worst, he will just be angry for a while. You can't just break up with her for the rest of your life because of these things. But now, she suddenly wasn't so sure. She bit her lip and her voice trembled slightly. I didn't mean it. I was just too jealous of her. I was just carried away by jealousy, so I did some irrational things. I didn't really want to destroy her. I just can't stand her and don't want her to have such a smooth life. Why, I have been guarding you for more than 20 years, but I have never been able to be with you. And she just appeared in your life, and her understanding of you is not even 1/10 of what I do, so she can become the wife who has been with you all your life, can be by your side forever. How can you be so kind to her and pamper her like that? Why? As Shenro spoke, she couldn't control the grievance and resentment in her heart, and she yelled, just because she can cure your disease? Just because of her so-called specialness? Are you serious? Do you like her? If she didn't have these special characteristics for you, would you still marry her? You wouldn't. You have never had any emotional experience, so you regard such a feeling as love. You think you like her, so you treat her well, protect her and pamper her, but you don't really like her at all. I just can't bear to see how she can gain your favor so easily. Why should she? If she hadn't been able to cure your disease, you and she would never have had any intersection in your life. But I'm different. We've known each other since we were kids, and we've been by each other's side since we were kids. Everyone around us thinks that they should be together. If Chiao Mian hadn't suddenly appeared, your wife should have been mine. I'm not willing to give in. I've liked you for so many years, and now I'm asked to give you up to someone else. I'm really not willing to give it up. At the end of the sentence, Shenro broke down in tears and burst into tears. She covered her face and cried bitterly, you know, I have liked you for many, many years. From the first moment I saw you, I have liked you. Apart from you, there has been no one else in my heart these years. They all advised me to give up on you, saying that you are already married and I should not pester you anymore. I want to, but I really can't do it. Because, she really likes him very much. He is her whole world. Without him, her world would collapse. Then what's the meaning of her life? What she wanted in her whole life was to marry him and become his wife. However, he married another woman and made another woman his wife. What about her? What should she do? Everyone was trying to persuade her to let go, but how could she let go of a relationship that lasted more than 20 years? This is undoubtedly digging into her heart. How can a person survive if he has no heart? So, unless she dies, she will never be able to let him go in this life. Moyesi listened to her expressionlessly, with no fluctuations on his face. It was as if he was just listening to something that had nothing to do with him. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 802. Chapter 802, for that woman, I have to break up with her. Shenro looked at his indifferent expression, her heart was twisted for a moment, and she laughed out of excitement. I originally thought that we have known each other for so many years, but you always treat me differently from others. No matter what, I still have a certain place in your heart. Even if you don't have love for me, I am still special to you. Now it seems that I was wrong. Tears kept falling from her eyes, wetting her face and smearing the makeup on her face. She is usually a very image-conscious person, but at this moment, she let the makeup on her face wear off. I'm not even a good friend to you, right? He has never been so indifferent to his friends. But she was really cold to the core. Is it because she touched Xiao Mian? Shenro couldn't help but curled her lips sarcastically. Xiao Mian's life is so good. I can win your heart without any effort. And my companionship and waiting for more than 20 years are like a funny joke. No, a sad and funny joke. Having said everything that should be said and what should not be said, she no longer had any scruples. She raised her tear-filled eyes and looked at him with a mixture of love and hate. Yes, I planned that incident with my own hands. I hired people from the Navy company to smear her. ACI, do you want to break up with me because of this matter? Still, you want to vent your anger on Xiao Mian, what are you going to do to me? Mo Yesi looked at her expressionlessly. You did these things to my wife, and it is indeed impossible for us to continue to be friends. I will be merciful to my friends, but not to strangers. You go, this is the last time. Shenro, we will be strangers from now on. If you do anything that will hurt her again, I will pay you back 10 times and 100 times. This is also my last warning to you. I advise you not to do anything because of your actions. The entire Shen family is implicated. Shenro raised her head little by little and looked at him in disbelief. You want to break off our friendship with me? Just because I let someone hack Xiao Mian once, you are going to break off our friendship with me? Isn't it true that she has nothing to do now? Mo Yesi, do you really want to be so heartless? What did you mean by that? What are you going to do to our family? Mo Yesi looked at her coldly. Don't force me to be truly heartless towards you. I have nothing more to say to you, you can leave. Don't come to me again, I won't see you again. After finishing speaking, he turned around and walked back to his desk and pressed the intercom phone on the desk. Wei Zheng, please send Miss Shen away. Shen Rose stood there in a daze. She still had a look of disbelief on her face. She felt as if her heart was being torn open alive, and the severe pain came from the heart, so painful that her face turned pale as a sheet for an instant. He actually wanted to break off the relationship with that woman because of her. He even threatened to deal with the Shen family. Suddenly, she felt that the man in front of her was extremely strange. He is not the Mo Yesi she has known for more than 20 years. The Mo Yesi she knew would not be so ruthless. Even if he was not particularly kind to her, he would never say such indifferent words to her. Just for that woman named Xiao Mian. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 803. Chapter 803, You will be scared too. He could be so ruthless and cruel to her. Mo Yesi, are you willing to give up on anyone for Xiao Mian? Shenro couldn't help shouting, you are so good to her and regard her so important. Have you ever thought that in her heart, you are nothing at all? You like her, but does she like you? She has a fiancé who has been with her for 10 years, and that's the person she likes to care about. No matter how nice you are to her, it doesn't matter. You are not as good as any of them. 10 years of love. She just broke up with her fiancé and will marry you soon. Haven't you ever thought that she might be with you just to heal her wounds? I asked the Navy to hack her before, but her fiancé was on the street. The matter of asking for reconciliation with her was not made up by anyone else. I can't tell, she openly refused, but she was moved in her heart. After her fiancé begs her a few more times, she might agree. Watching Mo Yesi's face getting darker and darker, Shenro felt a sense of pleasure in her heart. The pleasure of revenge. He caused her so much pain. She won't make it any easier for him. She also wanted him to taste what it felt like to be jealous of someone. She also wants him to experience what it feels like to be afraid of losing someone you care about. Even if he can't fully feel her pain, even if he can only feel 1/10 of it, it's enough. If a woman has loved a man deeply, it will be difficult for her to be attracted to other men. Just like me, ha ha ha, no other man has shown kindness to me in these years, but the position in my heart has been filled. Why? There may be room for others. Mo Yesi, do you think it is possible for Chiao Mian to completely let go of her ex? Let me tell you, this is impossible. Do you care about her very much and are afraid of losing her, but do you know that the more you care about someone, in the end, that person will become farther and farther away from you? Mo Yesi pursed his lips and anger burst out of his eyes. Have you said enough? Ha ha ha, you seem very angry, Mo Yesi. It turns out that you are also scared sometimes. Have you actually thought about what I just said? That's why you are so scared. You are also worried that Chiao Mian will get back together with her ex-fiancé, right? Looking at the anger and forbearance on the face of the man in front of her, Shenro felt extremely happy. She could feel that Mo Yesi was scared. She felt it was both ridiculous and sad. From childhood to adulthood, they have known each other for so many years, and she has never seen him afraid of anything. But now, he is actually afraid. Ha ha ha, just because of what she said just now, because she said that Chiao Mian would get back together with Suzy and leave him, this man who was not afraid of anything, was actually afraid. It's really ridiculous. Just a woman. It really fascinated him. She thought he was different from other men. It turns out that he is just a man who is seduced by beauty. Just like ordinary men. A click sound. At this time, Wei Zheng opened the door and walked in. As soon as he walked into the office, he felt that the atmosphere was not right. He looked at Shenro, whose eyes were red and swollen from crying, and then at his sullen boss, and cautiously called out, "Mr. Mo." Mo Yesi turned around, with anger hidden in his cold voice, "Take her out." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 804. Chapter 804, Will your husband have any objections? Yes. Wei Zheng felt Mo Yesi's anger and did not dare to delay. He immediately turned around and said to Shenro, "Miss Shen, please." Shenro stretched out her hand to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes, raised her head, and glanced at Mo Yesi with a smile on her lips. "Okay, I'll leave right away. I know that you only have Chiao Mian in your heart now, and I'll leave you here. Being here will only be an eyesore to you. Although you have given up on me, your position in my heart will never change. I believe that time will prove everything. You will know in the future who is the one who really treats you." After Shenro finished speaking, she turned around and left the office first. Wei Zheng stood there stunned for 2 seconds before he remembered and followed him out. The two of them had just left not long ago. The secretary outside heard a sudden sound of things falling to the ground in the president's office. A few people looked at each other and couldn't help but feel a little scared. What did Miss Shen and Mr. Mo talk about in the office? Why did Miss Shen's eyes look swollen when she walked out of the office, and she looked like she was crying hard? Does it mean that you know Mr. Mo has a girlfriend? So you are sad? Asterisk. After Chiao Mian arrived at the hot pot restaurant, as soon as she walked into the lobby, she saw Zhang Luli sitting alone at a table, picking up a piece of tripe and burning it, and holding a bottle of beer in his hand. She was ironing her belly and drinking wine. Looks like one person is having a great time eating. Chiao Mian stood at the door and looked at it for a few seconds, then walked quickly towards her. "Baby, you're here so soon, boss, please bring me some more bowls and chopsticks." Seeing Chiao Mian, Zhang Luli was so happy that he narrowed his eyes with laughter. She reached out and patted the seat next to her. Baby, sit here, let's sit next to each other. Oh, you've only been gone for a few days, why do I miss you so much? It feels like I haven't seen you for several years. Same. There are long benches in the shop. Chiao Mian walked over and sat on a stool with Zhang Luli. As soon as he sat firmly, Zhang Luli put down his chopsticks, turned around and hugged her hard. Baby, you know, I really missed you and saw you today, but you went back to Yunchinj, ha ha ha, can you overhear what I'm thinking? Chiao Mian also hugged her hard and said with a smile, then we must have a good understanding. I really want to see you today, so I came back. Besides, how can you do something like hot pot without me? Zhang Luli didn't say anything anymore, but hugged her hard. After holding her for a few seconds, he slowly let go. The boss brought an empty bowl over. Chiao Mian mixed the ingredients according to her daily preferences. Zhang Luli put the freshly permed tripe into her bowl and said with a smile, you came directly to me when you arrived in Yunchinj. Will your husband, do you have any opinions? Although I really want to see you, if this incident causes disharmony between you and your husband, I will feel very guilty. The hairy belly in this shop is one of a kind. Every time Chiao Mian comes over, she has to order 2 portions first. Zhang Luli knew that she loved this most, so he put it directly into her bowl after it was ironed. The steamed tripe was cooked just right. Chiao Mian dipped it in the ingredients and ate it in one bite. It was so crispy and delicious. After she finished eating, she took a piece and put it in the pot to boil. Seeing Zhang Luli pick up the beer bottle again, she frowned and reached out to stop her. Lulu, didn't you say you drank too much last night? Why are you drinking again now? End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 805. Chapter 805. You must remember our agreement. Stop drinking. Last night was last night. Zhang Luli gently brushed her hand away, raised his head, took a big sip, and said with a smile, don't worry, it's just a little beer. No need to drink any wine when eating hot pot, isn't that boring? Would you like a drink? Chiao Mian has a bad drinking habit. When I drink beer, I can drink 2 glasses. So she usually doesn't drink. But today. She thought for a while, nodded and said, okay, then I'll drink some with you. Are you sure? Zhang Luli raised his eyebrows at her, aren't you afraid of getting drunk? With you, I have nothing to be afraid of. Chiao Mian curled her lips and took out an empty glass. You pour me a glass. I'll drink with you, a glass of wine, I'm still fine. Good. Zhang Luli poured more than half a glass of beer into her glass, and then clinked the glass with her. It doesn't matter if you're drunk anyway, I'll call the male idol and ask him to pick you up. You can also have a nice time together. Drunk sex. Black lines appeared on Chiao Mian's forehead. She glared at Zhang Luli with feigned anger, not serious at all. The two of them chatted and ate. Chiao Mian talked about her life in F City during those days, while Zhang Luli talked about her job search during those days. Although Zhang Luli majored in acting, she has no plans to enter the acting industry in the future. Her dream is to be like Bai Yasheng, to become a well-known director in the future, to make the movies she likes, and to support the people she wants to support. She and Chiao Mian had made an agreement that when she became a well-known director, Chiao Mian would be her leading actress. The two of them had a tacit understanding and did not mention what happened between Zhang Luli and that man last night. When Chiao Mian said that Bai Yasheng gave her the role of the female lead, Zhang Luli was surprised and happy. Really? So, baby, you are the heroine now. Speaking of this matter, Chiao Mian was still very happy and couldn't help but take a sip of wine. Anyway, the pressure is quite high. However, I will try my best to perform this drama well, and I cannot let down brother Bai and sister Siet. Expectations. Especially Brother Bai, it's quite risky for him to use me as the female lead no matter what, I can't destroy his brand. Huh. Zhang Luli rolled his eyes. What's wrong? Xiao Mian blinked. You and Brother Bai seem to have a very good relationship, Zhang Luli said with a smile. We are all called by such names. What I said is right, Brother Bai is a very good person and easy to get along with. Besides, he must have thought you were suitable for the role when he chose you to play the female lead. Therefore, you must have more confidence in yourself. Brother Bai is a very good judge of people. If he thinks you are suitable, you will definitely be suitable. In the past, there were many newcomers with no experience who got important roles in his hands and were made famous by him. In short, baby, I think you will become popular soon. Alas, I really didn't expect that what we agreed on back then, you finished it so quickly. Anyway, you have to remember our agreement. No matter how popular you are in the future, you still owe me the heroine of a play. You can't ignore me just because you become a big star in the future. Of course not. Xiao Mian reached out and patted her chest. We are good sisters for life. If you need it in the future, let alone one drama, any number of dramas will do. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 806. Chapter 806, 50 million compensation. It's better to be sisters. Zhang Luli sighed softly, and after putting down his chopsticks, the smile on his face suddenly faded a lot. She raised her head and drank the remaining beer in one gulp. Baby, let me ask you something. Well, you say. Zhang Luli reached out and rubbed his brows, frowned and was silent for a while, and then said, if I told you that I accepted the check, would you think, I am very greedy for money? If you are more courageous, should you tear up the check in front of others and tell them not to trample on my dignity with the check? Actually, I thought about doing that at the time, but I later thought why shouldn't I accept it? He dares to give it away, why don't I dare to accept it? Just to show that I am very proud and self-respecting, I will push away the 50 million offered to me. Isn't that a fool? Anyway, he and I will probably never see each other again. Since he feels guilty and is willing to make up for it, then I will accept the money. To be honest, there will be more places to use money in the future. With the 5,000 won, can solve many problems. Besides, I am seeking investment for a script and am short of money. He sent the money in time. Xiao Mian listened thoughtfully for a while and said, I think if it were me. Well, what would you do? Zhang Luli looked at her intently. Xiao Mian thought about it again, and then said truthfully, I will also take the money. Things like tearing up checks only exist in novels about bossy CEOs. Who can withstand the temptation of 50 million? It was brought to me on its own initiative. Only a fool would push this huge sum of money away for the sake of so-called dignity. However, the identity of the man who had a one-night stand with Zhang Luli last night is probably not simple. It is not many people who can give to 50 million people in one go. Even if an ordinary man is willing to compensate for a romantic relationship like last night, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands would be a big deal. 50 million. It is indeed a huge sum of money. Although you can't tell much just by looking at the money. However, the man was willing to give Zhang Luli so much money, so he probably liked her a little bit. Otherwise, I am very satisfied with her. But he didn't even show his face and asked his assistant to bring the money. Obviously he didn't want Zhang Luli to know his identity. In other words, once he met him, Zhang Luli knew who he was. So Xiao Mian guessed that she might also know that man. Perhaps a well-known person. You really think so? Zhang Luli seemed to have let go of some psychological burden, and his face looked better than before. Yes, Jiao Mian nodded, 50 million, not 5,000. I think no one can refuse this temptation. Anyway, I can't refuse. As you said, he gave it voluntarily. Why not? Well, that's what I thought too. A smile appeared on Zhang Luli's face again, so I accepted it without hesitation. Ha ha ha, do you know the expression on Assistant Su's face at that time? He probably thought I would be angry and refuse. As a result, but I happily accepted the money. Anyway, I saw his face turn dark immediately. Chiao Mian imagined that scene and couldn't help but laugh. I wonder if Assistant Su has read too many novels about overbearing presidents, otherwise, why would he think you would refuse the money? End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 807. Chapter 807 Chapter 809-810 I have never seen a woman who loves money so much. Who knows? Zhang Luli shrugged. Anyway, after I accepted the money, his face didn't look good. However, I don't care what he thinks of me, anyway, we won't have any interactions in the future. I checked and the check is genuine. Zhang Luli raised his chin and blinked, sighing, that man is really rich and generous to women. Do you think he treats everyone? All the women he slept with were so generous. If I give him 50 million for sleeping once, do you think he will be bankrupted soon? Chiao Mian. Didn't you say that it should be his first time? Chiao Mian and Zhang Luli have not known each other for the longest time. But each other knows the other best. So she could tell that although Zhang Luli was joking, he still cared about what happened last night. Although she is usually very carefree, she seems to not care about anything. But, which girl really doesn't care about her first time at all? She didn't seem to care at all about the man last night, and she wasn't curious at all. But actually, I am still very curious. Want to know who that man is? Just as she also wanted to know who the man was that night. I was slept with by someone out of nowhere, and I didn't even know who the other person was. It felt really bad. I also guessed. Who knows if he is? Zhang Luli snorted. However, if it hadn't been his first time, his skills would have been really bad. A man with experience has no problem with any skill, it can't be that bad. Asterisk. A private mansion. The man standing by the floor-to-ceiling window is wrapped in a black bathrobe. He has a slender and straight figure and a pine-like posture. Just by looking at his back, people can draw people's attention to him. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, there is a large green lawn. There are also two plane trees that block most of the sun. He was holding a cup of coffee in his hand. The freshly brewed coffee was filled with white mist, and the water vapor clung to the lenses on the bridge of his nose, making his vision a little blurry. He reached out and took off his glasses and handed them to the maid beside him. There were footsteps behind me. After getting close to him, he slowly stopped. Mr. Minister, a respectful voice sounded behind him. Mo Shixiu slowly turned around, put away the confusion in his eyes, glanced at the person in front of him, and said in a cold voice, "How did things go?" Assistant Su curled his lower lip, and the expression on his face was a bit hard to explain. I gave her the check as instructed by the minister. Yeah, Mo Shixiu nodded, hesitated for a few seconds, and then asked, "How is she? Did she say anything? Is she in good condition?" Assistant Su remembered the scene of the woman taking the check quickly, and couldn't help but let out a cold snort from her nose. Mo Shixiu raised his eyebrows slightly. "What's going on?" "Mr. Minister, you know that woman." Assistant Su frowned, with a look of disgust on his face. "I thought she wouldn't accept the check easily. But I didn't expect that she would accept it so quickly. I have never seen a woman who loves money so much. You don't even know that when I gave her the check, she watched me confiscate it. Then I told her that there was 50 million in the check, and she immediately reached out and took it away. She was so fast that she was afraid that I would regret it. Same. I've seen some women who love money, but this is the first time I've seen a woman who loves money so much and so openly. You are still worried that she will be sad, but you are overly worried. I think she is in a good mood after receiving the 50 million. She must be so happy that she got rich overnight just by sleeping with you. When Assistant Sue talked about this, there was disdain in his eyes. I think she might have deliberately pretended to be drunk last night. I was drugged to get close to you. How is it such a coincidence that you were drugged and just when you needed a woman, she appeared? Mr. Minister, I think we should investigate that woman carefully. Maybe this drugging incident has something to do with her. Assistant Sue became angry when he thought of that woman's money-loving look. Although the money itself was prepared for her by the minister. Even if she wants it in her heart, she should just pretend it on the surface. Furthermore, he felt that the minister gave him too much. That's just an ordinary woman, not worth 50 million. Had it not been an emergency at the time, he could have casually chosen a man with good conditions in all aspects for the minister. At all, there is no need to spend that 50 million. Although this money is nothing to the minister, is that kind of woman worth it? Even 500,000 seems like too much to him. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 808. Chapter 808. I want her, and she is my woman. As soon as Assistant Sue finished speaking, Amo Shixio's face darkened. I know best what the situation was like at that time. It was my fault that I touched her first. Last night, she was a victim. I don't allow you to do it again. She is so rude. But Mr. Minister, she... Assistant Sue, I don't want to repeat the same thing again. Amo Shixio lowered his voice. No matter what, if I want her, she will be my woman. Try being rude to my woman again. Assistant Sue had a look of surprise on his face. He was stunned for a few seconds and then shut his mouth knowingly. Oops. Looking at the minister's behavior, he must have fallen in love with the gold fishing girl last night, right? Well, he admitted that the woman was pretty good looking and had a pretty good figure. In terms of appearance, it can be considered to be excellent. But so what if she is beautiful? With a status like minister, does his family still lack beautiful women? So, the minister is definitely not protecting that woman in this way because of her appearance. Just because, slept with her? Assistant Sue thinks this is more likely. After all, the minister of his family is almost 30 years old, and he is still a virgin. He just lost his virginity last night. So, he must have been deeply impressed and felt very different about the woman who lost his virginity last night and gave it to him for the first time. Although men don't value their first time as much as women do, the first time also has a different meaning to them. They are often more impressed by women who have lost their virginity. No matter how awesome his minister is, he is still a man with normal physical and mental health. So. But Assistant Sue is not worthy of his minister. Worrying about what a woman who loves money is doing. That money was given to her voluntarily by me, and she deserves it. Under normal circumstances, I took away her innocence, and I should be responsible for her. But, so that money can be regarded as compensation for her. No matter what, it should be able to make her live a good life. Your Majesty, the minister is right. No matter how dissatisfied Assistant Sue was with the woman last night, he did not dare to show it anymore. The minister has already said that she is his woman. He has repeatedly had trouble with the minister's woman. Does he want to die? Amo Shixio lowered his eyes, and the beautiful scenes from last night appeared in his mind again. The heartbeat, which had always maintained a steady rhythm, sped up again. He was drugged last night, but that didn't mean that he was unconscious and couldn't remember anything. In fact, he remembered many things clearly. For the first time in his life, he felt that having a good memory was not a good thing. The consequence of him remembering the things last night too clearly was that he was unable to concentrate on doing anything the whole day today. The shadow of that woman would always pop into his mind from time to time. It interferes with his thoughts and prevents him from working properly. This is a situation he has never encountered before. As calm and wise as he is, he doesn't know what to do. Mr. Minister, I know that you have a special view of the girl, that lady last night. I also believe that the incident of you being drugged last night has nothing to do with her. However, for the sake of safety, I think it is better she should be investigated. First of all, after the investigation is clear, if what happened last night has nothing to do with her, that would be the best. If it is related to her, we can start a thorough investigation on her to see who is behind the scenes. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 809. Chapter 809, Confused. Seeing Mo Shixia looking at him expressionlessly, Assistant Sue immediately explained timidly, I don't doubt her. It's just that everyone who appeared around you last night should investigate it carefully. In the past, we have always that's how it's done. He specifically emphasized that he had done this before. I just want to tell Mo Shixia in a roundabout way that you can't be special just because you have slept with someone else. Believe in others unconditionally. You were not like this before. Mo Shixia naturally knew what he meant. He stared at him expressionlessly for a while, lowered his eyes and responded calmly, well, let's check. Assistant Sue couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the minister is still very sensible and has not become a foolish king who was deceived by beauty. Mr. Minister, I will. Mo Shixia raised his lowered eyes and frowned slightly. Last night, she might have been uncomfortable. You can go look for her again. Assistant Sue was stunned. The minister is talking about the lady last night? What am I looking for? The money that should be given was given. From now on, let's cut them off and never have any contact with each other until death. Why are you still looking for her? Well, find her and ask her if there is anything else she wants. Assistant Sue. What does it mean? 50 million has been given. Now ask her if there is anything she wants. Do you want to continue giving her the rhythm? No. Did you really develop feelings for someone after sleeping for one night? Mr. Minister, do you still want to continue to compensate that lady? Mo Shixia half squinted his cold eyes, was silent for a while, and nodded, I feel guilty. Only by giving her more compensation will I feel less sorry for her. But, Mr. Minister, you have already given her 50 million. This is already a lot of money, enough for ordinary people to have enough food and clothing for a lifetime. I think there is no need for additional compensation. He doesn't think it's worth it to compensate a woman who loves money. He would rather donate the money to impoverished mountainous areas. Go if you are told to go. Mo Shixia glared at him coldly and said displeasedly, why are you talking so much nonsense? You seem to have a strong opinion on her. No. Assistant Sue quickly denied it, I just think that the compensation of 50 million is enough. Minister, if you give additional compensation, she will feel that your money is particularly easy to get, and she will inevitably open her mouth. If it were anyone else, Assistant Sue wouldn't be too worried about this problem. But that woman last night. She loves money so much, and if she asks for compensation, the lion will definitely open her mouth. The lion opened its mouth, and it opened with me. What are you worried about? Mo Shixia pursed his lips and said in a cold voice, no matter how much she opens her mouth, I can still take it out. I hope she can take more. In this way, I feel better. Assistant Sue. It's over, it's over. His minister must have been tricked by that gold-fishing woman. Why is it like being possessed by a ghost? Had he not heard it with his own ears, he would not have believed that such unkind words would come from the mouth of his minister. You know you will be cheated, but you still hope that you will be cheated. I also feel that I will feel better after being cheated. This psychology, he cannot understand anyway. He thinks that the night he slept last night, made his minister sleep silly. What are you still doing? Why don't you go quickly? End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 810. Chapter 810. Your eyes are almost glued to others. Mo Shixia glanced at his subordinate with disgust. Thinking of his attitude just now, his eyes turned cold and he reminded her seriously, remember to be polite to her. I understand, Mr. Minister. Asterisk. When Assistant Sue found Zhang Luli, she and Xiao Mian had just walked out of the pharmacy. Assistant Sue lowered the window to greet her and glanced at the pill box in her hand, and then saw a box of emergency contraceptive pills in her hand. Assistant Sue was immediately frightened so much that his face changed. Emergency contraception? Is it possible, Minister, that you didn't take any contraceptive measures last night? But if he didn't take any contraceptive measures, why didn't he tell himself about it? Isn't he afraid of making someone's belly bigger? At that time, things will become complicated. What if the woman hid and gave birth to the child, and then used the child to threaten him? Such a thing is very likely to happen. The minister is someone who is running for president. Having a child out of wedlock is definitely a stain for him. Fortunately, the woman was conscious and knew how to buy medicine by herself. It would be dangerous if you meet a woman who wants to use her children to gain power. Because of the emergency contraceptive pill issue, Assistant Sue finally didn't dislike Zhang Luli so much. My impression of her is slightly better. Although she is a money maker, she does not love money to the point of being hopeless. As the others approached, Assistant Sue honked the horn. When Zhang Luli saw him, he pulled out the car keys and got out of the car. With a pop sound, after getting out of the car, he closed the car door and walked slowly to Zhang Luli. Ms. Zhang, we meet again. Assistant Sue glanced at Xiao Mian who was with Zhang Luli, and couldn't help but stay on her face for a few more seconds, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. What are you looking at? Assistant Sue didn't like Zhang Luli. Similarly, Zhang Luli also disliked him. When talking to him, his tone was naturally not much better. She looked fierce and her tone was extremely rude. Looking at your squinting look, I'm telling you, my sister already has a wife, so don't even think about trying to trick her. Assistant Sue was so angry that his mouth was a little crooked. You woman. He was just about to get angry at Zhang Luli when he suddenly remembered Mo Shixia's explanation and swallowed the words that were already on his lips. His anger turned into a cold snort. I want to appreciate these beautiful things when I see them. It's human nature. Miss Zhang thinks too much. He, are you admiring me? Zhang Luli said without any politeness, your eyes are almost glued to others. You woman. Assistant Sue took a deep breath and clenched his fists. Forget it, I'm not as knowledgeable as you. If you have time now, let's talk. Talk. Zhang Luli looked at him strangely. What else do we have to talk about? Is it possible that his master regretted it and wanted to take back the 50 million? Thinking of this, Zhang Luli's expression suddenly changed, and hostility burst out in his eyes. If you want to take the check back, I'm sorry, but we have nothing to discuss. What you gave me is mine. Won't give it back. Assistant Sue. He knew that this woman was greedy for money. Look at her money-grubbing face. Besides being good-looking, what other advantages does she have? End of this chapter.